Reginald produces a clay cast of Larry's key while he waits. Larry leaves to begin his shift. Larry starts by detaching one of the T-Rib Rex's bones and hooking it to a remote-controlled vehicle in order to keep the T-Rex occupied while pursuing it. He travels to the cavemen, who are still trying to find ways to make fire, and throws them a lighter. He walks up to the Easter Island head and hands him the gum he requested yesterday. He enters the diorama room. When closing the glass to their diorama, he puts on a mitt to defend himself from the arrows the Mayans will throw. As he sees them knocking down their wall to expand, he moves to close the glass to the Roman culture diorama. He goes over to the Western culture diorama to observe Jedediah giving the order to destroy the mountain. Larry warns him not to since he will only strike a wall. Jed instructs them to explode it anyhow, but all they get is a puff of smoke. Larry inquires as to what they are up to, and Jedediah says that they are working on Manifest Destiny. Larry, fed up, takes Octavius and Jedediah and promises to let both civilizations wander free if they swear to behave. Larry leaves the room after they both agrees. Larry then walks up to the Hall of African Mammals and instructs Dexter to enter. Dexter enters the room, and Larry closes the door. Dexter believes he took the keys and displays a set of baby keys. Larry triumphantly shuts the gate, believing he has outwitted Dexter. He resumes his rounds and notices Teddy checking out at Sacagawea once more. Teddy is advised by Larry to simply go and say hi to her. Larry walks away, and Teddy approaches the window, about to say hello, but walks away, too bashful. Cut to an unknown man breaking into Larry's office. He unlocks Larry's desk and plants numerous museum objects before leaving. At the Teddy Roosevelt Rotund, Larry meets Attila the Hun. Attila prepares to strike but is stopped by Larry's offer to teach him some magic. Larry makes a bunch of flowers appear, a penny disappear and reappear out of Attila's ear, and a handkerchief disappear. Nevertheless, on the last trick, he fails, displaying a portion of his handkerchief poking out of the false thumb he is wearing. When Attila learns this, he orders his Huns to seize Larry and begin tearing his limbs apart. They are, however, halted by an approaching elephant. When Larry looks up, we notice that the animals have escaped from the locked Hall of African Mammals, and Dexter is carrying Larry's keys. Larry pursues Dexter into the diorama room, where he observes the Romans and cowboys fighting. Meanwhile, Dexter opens a window with the keys. Larry approaches Jedediah and Octavius, who are fighting on a post, and snaps at them to get them to stop. They explain that they will never be friends and continue to argue. Larry spots Dexter again and pursues him, only to discover one of the cavemen on fire. He grabs the fire extinguisher and sprays the display with foam, putting out the flames. Larry then pursues Dexter further. Meanwhile, one of the cavemen notices people outside surrounding a bonfire via the open window. He throws himself out the window to join them. Larry confronts Dexter in one of the exhibitions and attempts to reclaim the keys. Dexter slaps him, and they start slapping one another until Teddy intervenes. Teddy gets the keys back by gently appealing to Dexter. Larry informs Teddy that he may take over. Larry has decided not to return again. Teddy attempts unsuccessfully to persuade him to persevere. Larry is directed to the open window by Christopher Columbus. Larry rushes to the window, where he sees a caveman and the rising sun. Larry rushes to the front door just in time to watch the caveman return. But it's too late, the sun rises, and the caveman crumbles to dust in the street. When he drives past, a street sweeper cleans his remnants off the road. Larry returned to the museum. It's early in the morning, and Nick and two pals head to the museum with the expectation of receiving a free tour. Dr. McPhee fires Larry in front of Nick and his buddies as he goes to clear up the foam remnants from the caveman show. Larry does not see Nick and his companions as they depart. Larry chases down Dr. McPhee and persuades him to allow him one more night. Returning to his mother's flat, Nick informs Larry that he saw his firing at the museum. Larry informs Nick that he was not fired, it was a misunderstanding with Dr. McPhee, and he invites him to work with him that night. Nick makes his way to the museum. I'm sure you love this recap video. Now is the time to hit the subscribe button to Cine Series recap and like this video. Now let's get back to the recap. You still don't hit the subscribe button. Larry saw Rebecca in the museum thinking about something. They has a chat. Larry asks Rebecca to leave the museum since it's late in the evening, and museum is about to close. She said she is giving up this thesis and papers. Larry runs to Rebecca to say not to give up her paper. because Larry can help. He told Rebecca about the secrets of this museum and how the history comes to life at night. Rebecca wasn't able to understand to his statement because it is hard to believe. Rebecca left the museum.
No, I'm not making fun of you.
Larry seats Nick at the front desk and informs him that the dinosaur is ready to erupt. It's the time of year when things generally come to life, yet nothing does. Nick is unhappy and believes his father is deceiving him. Larry leads him to the Pharaoh's room, only to discover that the tablet has stolen. Larry dashes to where the tablet should be and turns around to discover Nick has vanished. He rushes out and finds Nick descending the steps to depart. Suddenly, they notice a shadow outside and decide to investigate. Nick discovers a trolley carrying the tablet and removes it. Larry instructs Nick to flip the tablet's center square, which will bring everything to life. Nick, unsure of whom to trust, ultimately rotates the middle piece. The three guards are getting ready to battle. Larry instructs Nick to take the tablet and run. Gus begins to fight with him, but Larry stops him and is knocked to the ground. Gus strikes Larry again in the face as he stands up. Cecil pushes him to the floor again and tells him how much they enjoyed working there. They claim that the tablet gave them new life as well as energy. They had to act when they found out they were about to be sacked. They disclose that they put the evidence on his desk in order to frame him. They go to look for Nick, as Gus throws a piledriver to Larry's back, nearly knocking him unconscious. Meanwhile, Dexter unlocks the museum's main entrance and lets everything out. Cecil steals the tablet as Nick dashes into the Pharaoh's chamber. Cecil knocks Larry over, steals his keys, and locks Larry and Nick in the chamber. Larry summons Teddy, who arrives and presents himself to Nick. Larry urges Teddy to help him out, but Teddy rejects, saying it is his moment. Teddy rides away. The gigantic Anubis statues are poised to strike Larry and Nick when Larry turns around. Larry gets through the statue's defenses and opens the Pharaoh's tomb. The Pharaoh commands Anubis to stand aside and unwrap himself. He declares himself to be King Akhmenre. Anubis releases them from the chamber, enabling the three to continue in search of the tablet. The entire museum is fighting each other in the Teddy Roosevelt Rotunda. Attila the Hun spots Larry across the rotunda and charges. Larry makes the decision to meet force with force. They meet and shout at each other. The Pharaoh said Larry he speak Hun language. He translate to both Larry and Attila, until Larry discovers Attila's sensitive side and finally wins him over. Larry then tries, but fails, to grab everyone's attention. The Easter Island head then yells for everyone to keep silent, allowing Larry to speak. He describes how the guards took the tablet and assigns everyone responsible for retrieving it. He instructs the Civil War soldiers to circle the planetarium wing. He instructs Columbus to lead the cavemen to the reptile area. He directs Jedediah and Octavius to look after Cecil's vehicle. They first refuse to collaborate, but Larry persuades them to do so by pointing out that they aren't that unlike. They are both brilliant leaders. He persuades everyone to collaborate, and they proceed.
All right! Faceless puppet creatures, come on, let's go!
Outside, Jedediah and Octavius gather some of their followers and go to flatten the van's tires. Except for Jedediah and Octavius, the air pressure sweeps everyone off the air valve. Meanwhile, the Civil War troops apprehend Gus, while Columbus and the cavemen apprehend Reginald. Cecil enters the vehicle while clutching the tablet and drives away. Larry, Nick, and Akhmenre head outside to see that the vehicle has vanished. Larry seeks to find Sacagawea to assist him in locating Cecil. He had smashed his automobile across the street and returned to the museum, she discovers. Cecil emerges out of nowhere, accompanied by a team of horses and a carriage. Teddy comes and pushes her out of the road just before he is about to run her over. Sacagawea is unharmed, but Teddy has been cut in half.
That's problematic.
Teddy!
While Sacagawea remains behind to assist Teddy, Larry takes Teddy's horse and pursues Cecil. Jedediah and Octavius, also with them, came in the RC vehicle with the bone still connected, leading Larry and the T-Rex into the road. They all are chasing Cecil. Jedediah maneuvers the vehicle such that T-Rex collides with Cecil, but the vehicle spins out of control and flips behind a small hill, exploding with a plume of smoke. Larry rides beside Cecil, warning him to halt the horses or he will. Cecil describes how the horses are money couriers who have been instructed not to halt for anything other than a secret phrase. Larry reveals that the word is Dakota, and the horses come to a halt, sending Cecil soaring into the air. Larry seizes the tablet and transports Cecil to the court of Attila the Hun. Attila returns Cecil to the museum. Larry hands Akhmenre the tablet, which he uses to return everyone to the museum. Larry also phones Rebecca and invites her to the museum. She see bunch of museum animals and history people walking in front of her car. Everyone returns to the museum, and Larry and Achman recount everyone to check if anyone is missing. He command a deer to enter through the back door. Teddy returns, having been repaired, and Rebecca enters. She believes Larry. She notices Sacagawea and goes away with her, questioning her. Larry and Teddy conclude the count, and Larry notices that 2 persons, Jedediah and Octavius, are missing. He believes they are dead. Teddy said emotionally great victory comes with great sacrifice. Until Nick instructs him to look and they both struggle up the steps to the museum. You ain't getting rid of us that easily, Jedediah says. They salute and enter the museum. Teddy promises to meet Larry tomorrow night, but Larry is unsure if he will still be working there. The main hall is a shambles as a result of the fighting. Larry is in Dr. McPhee's office, viewing multiple news broadcasts from the previous night. Larry is fired again by Dr. McPhee. Larry gives his flashlight and key to Dr. McPhee. They both come out and notice that the museum is crowded and incredibly bustling. A broken-hearted Dr. McPhee restores Larry's position by simply handing him his torch and keys. Larry's son's classmate has been invited to the museum at the night. Larry is at the museum that night, and the night staff is partying in the ronda. Everyone appears to be getting along, and Nick is riding atop T-Rex, who is being directed by Jedediah and Octavius in their new toy sports car. Larry then flips his torch, clips it to his belt, and snaps his fingers to turn out the light, completing a model snapper for himself. During the credits, a sequence shows Cecil, Gus, and Reginald being rehired as museum custodians and janitors. They don't get what they wanted, but they make the most of it. And that's the end of Night at the Museum 2006. Be sure to subscribe to my channel Cine Series Recap to stay tuned for next parts. Till then, see you.